Hi, hey, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to talk about the pocket hole super joint. Now, the first video I did a couple days ago, I showed you what that was and how you make it. Let me show you where you use it, why you use it. Okay? And then you'll understand completely they have their place. Now, I don't put a super joint on every place I put pocket hole joints. A lot of times, toenailing pocket hole joinery is good enough. But this is a shelf that I'm putting up on my wall. This is my wall, and it goes all the way from the doorway over here to all the way to the corner of the front of the shop over here. My big picture window is right here behind you. You know, right now you don't need to see that. Anyway, so we're kind of in this area, and this is where I'm putting my miter saw station eventually. This window right here will go away, and my air conditioner is going to go in here and be enclosed completely. This is a walkway on the other side of this wall between the house and the shop, so it can't protrude out. So that's another video that we're going to come to. Right now I want to talk about how I'm joining and why I'm joining things to this wall with nothing more than pocket hole joinery, and everything will be super strong and won't have to worry about it coming off. First off, you have to understand, where is the weak point and why is a joint, when you put something on the wall, why will it fail? Well, right now, if you look at this classic example, I have a bracket right here and a bracket right here, and these two brackets are just screwed to the wall, and this piece is laid up on top of it to give me a very simple shelf type of thing. This is 2 foot wide, so it's a pretty big shelf coming off the wall. And so any weight you put out here is going to have a lot of weight, stress, on this joint along here. This joint isn't going to want to come and fall straight down. This joint failure, his actually tendency will be to pull away from the wall right there and pivot from this corner down here and pull away from the wall. How many times have you seen a cabinet, a cheap cabinet in a kitchen, where you have your cabinet bolted to the wall, and what happens is you put a lot of weight in that upper cabinet, and next thing you know, that cabinet starts pulling away from the wall at the top of the joint because that cabinet wasn't made very well. And the reason that joint failed there is because all that weight in that cabinet is making that cabinet pull away from the shelf, from the wall at the top. The bottom is trying to dig in. So with that in mind, this shelf is not as strong as I think it should be, could be, and will be. And that's because I'm going to use my new technology, the pocket hole super joint. If you want to know about that joint and how it works, how to make it, you have to go back to the other video. I'll leave a link in the description. But you really need to see that if you're going to use the joint to understand why you're using it here. So basically, it's a 3-screw contact on the joint area. This is our weakest point of this shelf, here and there. They're going to want to pull away, so that's where you want to use. That's a classic example of where you want to use the super joint. So now we still have one option here, though. I took and I put a pocket screw here and 2 screws on the other side to give me a toenail on this board, attaching it to here. Yes, I could have put that super joint right there, but I didn't. I felt just put that up, get it up there. Then I screwed this one to here with pocket holes here to join these 2 pieces together. Now, so that means that if this wall fails, it's going to fail right here at this joint where it's screwed into the wall, this bracket. In order to make that joint super strong so that it won't pull away and I can put a lot more weight on here, all I'm going to do is put a super joint right here, but it's going to be in this piece of wood instead of on this piece of wood in this corner. You can do it either way, but I believe that the further away from the actual joint, in this case, higher up, the stronger that joint will be. So if that super joint is on up here on this part of the board, instead of down here on this part of the board, the leverage point of holding is stronger. It's all leverage. So it would take a lot more to pull that whole thing away from the wall the higher up that super joint is. If I put that super joint down here, it isn't going to do as much work as I put it higher up. The higher you put it, the better that joint will work. Get it far away from this pivot point as you can, and it gets stronger as you go further away. So that's why I'm going to put that pocket joint, that super joint, right into this piece of wood instead of into this piece. So I pocket hold this into place using toenail pocket holes, strong enough to get me started. Throw my sheet up there, get it all lined up, screw it down to this bracket. Now I'm going to come back and have a pocket hole here, a pocket hole on the other side here, and one on the top right above this bracket. All three going in to this wall, into the wall itself. They'll all be pocket hole joints, but there'll also be the super joint where they're further away from the edge from the wall. In other words, as I told you before, from here is instead of using this pocket hole here, I'm moving over to the 1 1/8, and I'm using 2-inch pocket hole screws to put it together. So there'll be one here, and one on top. All three going into here. That will give me my super joint. And right there where I have it will give me my strongest point for where that super joint goes. So there is a classic example of where you want it. When I put it there, get that joint as high as I can up on this joint. Right there. The higher up it is, the stronger that joint will be. So, when you do joinery like this, you want to make sure that which direction is that really going to pull that joint apart. Whether you're doing cabinets, freestanding, or cabinets on a wall, or shelves. Just think about it, where that joint goes. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is when you talk about whether you're toenailing or using the super joint, you want to put, if possible, you want to put your screws on different planes. For example, here is a piece. Bring it down just a hair. So here's a piece of 2x4. And the classic way of adjoining this is 2 screws on the inside where you don't see it, right in here. But in all reality, if you took and put 2 screws here, put one here and one here, when you put your shelf on there, or your cabinet, however you want to do it, and you'll see the outside, but you won't see this side of it because it's a cabinet, by having to join here, here, and here, you'll get multiple planes of it holding in place. And that's the key to doing pocket hole joinery and making it stronger, is to put it on more than one plane. We'd be putting pocket hole screws here on this plane, pocket hole screws here on this plane, and a pocket hole screw here. If I really wanted to make it stronger, I'd even put some over here if I didn't care about them being there. And then I would either hide them, or I'm not worried that you'll see them. If I had pocket hole screws coming in from all directions, this thing cannot shift and break away very easily at all. So, one thing I always do when I do pocket hole joinery, first thing I do is I look at, can I toenail? Can I use multiple planes to put my pocket hole screw in? The second thing I look at is, should I move this further away from my contact point of this wood? The further away I do and the longer the screw, the stronger that joint will be on its pulling. I don't need to do that here because everything's driven into here, so it doesn't take much of a screw here. Up there is where you want to space that further away on your pocket hole. So keep in mind where you use the super joint, and I hope this kind of explains how to use pocket hole joinery to your advantage. And sometimes, to me, I try to put pocket holes on all surfaces that I can and still get a good strong joint. Now let's talk about one more thing here real quick, and then I'll let you go. So, the third thing we should talk about is if you take a piece of OSB, and let's pretend this is OSB. It's the same thing really as OSB in some ways, but if I put 2 pocket hole screws in from here, I'm going to put this on this way, and I put 2 pocket hole screws in here, and then I put one in here, this pocket hole screw is not going to be as strong as these two because I'm breaking the rule. I'm going through here in laminated area so that plywood could actually pull apart from the stress of that screw. Whereas over here, it's going across the grain, across the layers, and so it will have a tendency to just pull through instead of separating the plywood. And so putting the screw here isn't as good as putting them here. You always want to think about when you put a pocket hole screw in, is it going cross grain across the layers, or is it going in between the layers with that screw? And the other thing is where are all those threads, the pulling part, the part that holds it into place, what surface are those going into? If you screw a pocket hole screw so that it goes into here, the threads, you're not going to get a stronger joint as when you go in from here and go through. So keep in mind where the threads are going to be when you're done with that pocket hole joint. After a while, it'll be second thought. You won't even have to think about it. You'll just know that's going to be weaker if I put the pocket hole there. So, and yes, there are times when I want to increase it and make it a super screw, a super joint, instead of just a standard pocket hole joint. So that's the difference between them. That's how they all work. And quite honestly, let me grab this. Hopefully, I've enlightened you here on how to make a super joint versus a standard joint, pocket hole joint, or a toenailing pocket hole joint. They all three have a place in the shop in joinery. And if you think about, do I really need to go to super joint? No. There are times when I won't even use it. Right there, there's a good example of where, yes, I do want to use a good super joint. I might even consider putting 2 in that point right there, putting 1 going through this piece going into here, and another super joint right here going in. That would make it even stronger, yes. Do I need that or not? I don't know. Probably that wouldn't be a bad idea to do both, but I don't think it's necessary. Once you get this joint in place here, so that those screws are holding this whole thing flat at the top, you're going to get the strength you need. But also, if you think about it, how many times have you seen people put screws in, joining these 2 pieces together like this, putting a screw straight through here into between the layers, so it's going into the layers of the plywood where the threads can pull out instead of going into across the layers. So when you put a screw in this way, and if you put 6 screws in down through here, that's not going to be near as strong as 3 pocket hole screws coming from this side going in. So pocket hole screws can be a very advantaged joint and very useful. But you got to know when is the right time to use it and where is the right place to use it. So now things are really complicated. Sorry about that. You got regular pocket hole screws. You got toenailing pocket hole screws. And now you have the pocket hole super joint. Well, you might probably think, now I know everything there is to know about pocket holes. But actually, no, you don't. I have another thing that I'm toying with, and I'm going to show you here real quick, just so you get you to thinking. And if you have any ideas or you want to go talk about this, let me know. Because I'm still not 100% sure about it. But I'm going to show you how to take and put a pocket hole screw in the 1/4 inch plywood and use a pocket hole screw in here and get a good strong joint, even in 1/4 inch plywood. As you see, it actually comes out on the other side, but my shoulder is there. So anyway, keep that in mind. I'm going to prove to you how you can actually use pocket hole screws on 1/4 inch plywood and get it to hold strong. So Thinking outside the box, I'll take you some strange places, as you now know. And I'm going to show you this once I get it fully developed, and how to do it and how to make it strong. So if you're interested, you're probably going to want to stick around. So then again, you might think, boy, he is way out there. Well, honestly, yeah, I am sometimes. So I do want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any comments or observations or suggestions on any of this, please leave it in the comments. I'm sure we all would love to see what you have to say. If you like this video or you learned something here, and hopefully you did, hit that like button. It helps me out. Most importantly, though, please come back again, because even though I'm almost done with my coffee, around here, I'm nowhere near done. Thanks, and we will see you again very soon.